Rob Browne here on this Monday morning edition of Sidelines, and we're broadcasting live from Atlanta, licking our wounds over the weekend. A lot of SEC basketball teams.
Licking our wounds. I don't
Yeah.
know about licking our wounds. Did you see? I saw your Tigers play great in Gainesville.
Yeah,
I
now
mean,
Florida played great. They made Auburn look. They didn't let Auburn do what they like to do. But like I said before the show, Brendan, Florida's been trending. They're the nation's leading rebounding team, and so that starts to pay off. Tennessee goes on the road. I took A&M in that one. I don't know. You can see these things coming. The SEC champion is going to be 13-5 or 14-4. That's what I think will happen. So hey, we got great show. We're doing an hour today. Mitch Davis, the MitchDavisShow.com. Franz Beard, GatorbaitMedia.com will check in with us. We're going to cover 1 through 14 in the SEC Monday morning blitz. Get pen and paper handy. Be ready. We'll be right back.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, guys. You saw over the weekend what happened. Who is the best team in the SEC basketball? The team that was picked 14th in the league this year, South Carolina. They're sitting there right now on top, tied with Alabama. Auburn goes down to Florida and gets just hammered.
Smoked.
Yeah, and I've read Bruce Pearl's comments, Mitch, about you had the big game Wednesday night against Alabama. You knew that was on the schedule a year ago on that date. You knew you were going to have to play Florida on Saturday. But I don't understand. These are 18 to 22, 23-year-old, 24-year-old kids. They should be in shape. I understand, I don't. Florida just beat Auburn. It wasn't that Auburn didn't have a good day. Florida just beat Auburn. But Mitch, you know basketball really well. Florida's been trending as the number one rebounding team in college basketball. That's got to be worth something. The guard play of Florida is really good, but you go down there and even as bad as Florida beat Auburn, and they've won 15 straight in Gainesville against Auburn. You got to win those kind of games on the road. But if you can go 5-4, 6-3 on the road in the SEC, and hold serve at home and go 9-0, you can win this league still. But you keep putting yourself in a tighter position, don't you?
Good news for Auburn and Rob and Brendan. Good to see y'all. Happy Monday morning.
Happy Monday morning, Mitch. I'm
the
pretty
dog is a
happy
little
Gator
hyper
today.
today.
I don't know about Rob's kind of salty about his loss, but that's all right. I'm happy about it.
I will tell y'all that my dog is hyper this morning, so y'all are probably going to get a
That's
rude
all right. We got
awakening.
dogs. We're a dog-friendly show around here.
Yes, we
got
are.
the zoomies. She keeps going back and forth. So
Yeah. It's
looking it over at her.
In the air today.
But guys, it is a good day. Rob, good news for your Auburn Tigers. They play Kentucky on Saturday. That seems to be the good news for everybody. I'm sure we can talk about that later in the show. But this is, the SEC is wide open. I was talking to my dad. I watched the UK Gonzaga game with him over the weekend. Went home to Memphis and kind of hung out with the family a little bit this weekend and took a break. But I told him, I was like, man, when you get to Nashville, you've got 10 teams that could win that SEC tournament. I mean, you go from Alabama all the way down to possibly LSU, Mississippi State seems to be the cutoff to win the SEC tournament. Any one of those 10 teams, 11 teams could win the tournament, and any one of them could get beat by 30 in the first round of the SEC tournament. So there's just really no in between, Rob. I know you and I will be there. I hope to see Brendan up there as well, but it's going to be a hell of a weekend, Rob. Hopefully you and I can kind of get together and play in a live remote. I think the Sidelines fans, I think SEC fans would enjoy kind of a collaboration
Oh, yeah.
between Sidelines and the Mitch Davis Show. We can kind of get some guests on, Chris Lee, Blake Lovell. We can kind of work on that and find maybe a bar or something to do that in and get a little speaker system and have some fun. And
What would be
maybe,
our like celebrity mashup name with like Mitch Davis and Rob Browne? It'd be like the Mitch Brown show or something like that. Or, we got to come up with one of those like Taylor
Yeah,
Swift.
Browne with an E. We'll have to find a good Irish
Yeah.
pub to do it on Broadway. Listen, I'm with you, Mitch. The SEC, you can see why Kentucky fans are so damn pissed off. They're livid, and I don't blame them. And this, the anger and the wrath of Kentucky fans, of Auburn fans, of Tennessee fans, you've got to have that to improve. But Florida, Todd Golden, again, doing what I do also as a financial advisor, I look at trends on stocks, what makes the market move. Florida leading the nation in rebounding. They're getting some talent in there. And Todd Golden, at the end of the day, he's a good coach. I mean, he is good. And then I'm going to tell you another one that I don't think I was surprised. Buzz Williams, one of the last men in the Western civilization still wearing a three-piece suit. Guy's a hell of a coach, okay? And Tennessee goes down there, gets beat 85-69. Now, Mitch, you tell me this. Tennessee's lost several games, and they've stayed up there at 5 or 6. I don't think they even move in the rankings. I mean, there's somebody out there that has OCD about Tennessee. But when I talk to Tennessee fans, I was in Knoxville Thursday and Friday. They're like, oh, wait till the tournament. One Final Four in all those years for Rick Barnes.
And the one Final Four never came at Tennessee. That Final Four is not at Tennessee. Tennessee's never been to a Final Four in men's college basketball. Now, they have a great women's basketball program, and that's awesome for them, but never men's basketball. And really, truthfully, I mean, I look at this. I look at Rick Barnes. I look at Coach Cal. Both of those guys, we could be seeing a new changing of the guard soon with retirements and with not met expectations. I know for a fact that Tennessee fans are getting a little anxious. They've had all these great Tennessee basketball teams and these really good, talented teams, but they can never get over that hump to get to that next level. I know Tennessee fans are getting very upset with that, especially given their track record and the success in women's college basketball. I know that they're like, hey, we've done this before. We've gone down the road. What's the difference between the men's and women's program other than having Pat Summitt for all those years? But even without Pat Summitt, Tennessee women's has still continued and sustained that success. Maybe not to the level that they're used to, but they're still getting to Elite Eights and Final Fours and having that success. And I think the volunteer faithful is right, and they're justified to have those expectations for the men's side. And for Kentucky, I see a comment in the comment section. I don't know if that's been flashed up on the screen yet. Who will be the next basketball coach at Kentucky? I think that this is the $1 million question. I have talked to a lot of people in the business that I trust with coaching searches that have given me information through the years. It seems to be that the favorite to land the Kentucky job will be Scott Drew at Baylor, which I think would be a good fit. I think that would be one of these home run hires for Kentucky. But would he leave Waco? Would he leave Baylor in the chill, relaxed lifestyle that he has at Baylor, where he's winning a national championship and going to Final Fours and competing for the Big 12 without Texas now and without Oklahoma? He's just going to have to compete with Kansas. Does he want to leave the friendly confines of making $4 or $5 million a year to go to Kentucky and handle all that stress and that the expectations that are at Kentucky? Who knows? But I know Kentucky will target him. Other names to watch out for, obviously, Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl. I don't know about Eric Musselman. Depends what Musselman does after this season. I'm hearing a lot of things and a lot of talk kind of trending towards him taking the Louisville job, which would be very interesting. So we could have another coaching opportunity open up there at Arkansas. So a lot of moving parts. We're 34 days away from Selection Sunday. We're 29 days away from tipping it off in Las Vegas. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of just craziness. I mean, Kentucky could figure it out. It wouldn't shock me if Kentucky figured it out, but it would also just be right on brand for Coach Cal if they just kind of finished out the season. They went 4-4 the rest of the way in the SEC. they lost on Friday or Saturday of the SEC tournament. Because Kentucky fans need to realize, unless something changes drastically, Kentucky will be playing on Thursday of the SEC tournament. So, Rob, Brendan, I don't know. I think the last time Kentucky played on Thursday of the SEC tournament, the Wildcats had to miss the NCAA tournament. They lost to Mississippi State. So who knows with this Kentucky team? They have all the offensive talent in the world with Reed Sheppard and Rob Dillingham. This team is a damn good basketball team, but it's coaching malpractice. I mean, I don't know if y'all watched the Gonzaga game. Kentucky called timeout with about 5-6 seconds left. The best play that they could throw up was a lob to Adua Thiero. Rob Dillingham didn't take out his guy. It was deflected at the rim. Reed Sheppard threw it. It wasn't Kentucky basketball. This standard, and I know for a fact that my little sister was there, and I know I talked to Matt Jones, a couple other people. There were people as Coach Cal was walking off the court chanting "F you, Cal," and you need to be fired. And they had Kentucky fans, and I don't know if y'all ever have heard of this, but they were Kentucky fans that were escorted out of the post-game fan experience with Coach Cal as he does his radio show with Tom Leach and the UK network. So there were fans thrown out of that because they were chanting, F you, Cal, and you need to be fired. And I'm not condoning that behavior because I think that there's a time and place for that. But to have Kentucky fans, members of the Big Blue Nation, thrown out of a post-game experience, I guess you can say, with the coach is unheard of. I mean, I go back to even Billy Gillespie. Dad and I were saying we've never seen that before.
Well, I agree. That's not the kind of behavior that you want. But when you look at what fans are being asked to do, okay, you pay for season tickets, you pay for priority seating, okay, then they squeeze you for NIL. The wrath of the fans, we've only just begun to use that term, but we really have, because I'm sitting here right now. Who can even name the roster of their team? Or their football team. These kids don't realize what they're doing. Not only are they screwing these schools that have provided them with great opportunities, we've got to wrestle the narrative away from these attorneys in California that started the pity party for these athletes are put upon. No, they're not. They're not. I think the fans deserve some sympathy if that's what it can. I don't feel sorry for anybody. I never do. I have empathy for people, but I don't feel sorry for people, because when you feel sorry for people, all you do is give them a Band-Aid. You need to fix the problem. But I'm with you, Mitch. I don't think you need to act that way, saying for you, F you, after the Kentucky basketball game.
Y'all haven't been to a Florida football game in a while, have you? Hey, it's been going on for a minute.
Yeah. But Brendan's right. I mean, the fans, when you think about what you are spending and you get this garbage, half-assed product out there, absolutely, the fans, who owns college sports? It's the fans. Right. And what's happened is the NCAA, they do it with officials. We have Steve Shaw, coordinator of officials. They're doing a good job in football, trying to get targeting and trying to make the game safer, not less physical, but safer. And I get that. But for the most part, the NCAA just let this happen because they're spineless, they're gutless, and they're lacking in leadership, Mitch. And so anyway, Let's switch gears. Let's move on from Kentucky. I want to ask you about, an interesting program here. Ole Miss, Chris Beard. This guy is winning at Ole Miss. You didn't mention him, did you, for the Kentucky job? But I think he is going to look at Ole Miss and say, they gave me a chance when I was counted out, kind of like Bruce Pearl did with Auburn.
And Rob, you make a good point with Chris, and Chris Beard is a great basketball coach. He's done well so far at Ole Miss, did well at Texas, did well at Texas Tech. But here's the issue that he is going to face is his off the court stuff that happened. And that happened. He abused his wife, or now I think it's his ex-wife.
Was it alleged?
There were bruises. There was a police report. I mean,
okay. Right, I don't know. Okay.
there was a mugshot. I mean, he was booked.
Okay.
Anytime, even if the physical doesn't happen, if a
Yeah.
woman does feel threatened, that crosses a line. And I know Chris Beard has turned his life around and he's doing well. But that is something to watch out for as other bigger jobs open up, like a Kentucky or somebody even bigger, maybe let's say Kansas or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Is athletic directors at those levels are going to be a little bit leery about hiring a guy like Chris Beard, because at that point, not only does it become just about winning, but it also becomes about what kind of message are you sending to the boosters? What kind of message? And Kentucky, really, truthfully, other than Billy Gillispie, uh, you know,
That was a good hire. That was a really good hire.
That was a
Solid.
He had one where he had been.
Good
He
move
was an
there.
alcoholic, and Kentucky learned their lesson. And so now, I mean, they're looking at. I mean, Coach Cal, he's got his basketball stuff and the cheating stuff, but he's never touched a woman. He's never abused a woman that we know of, or anything like that. Tubby Smith never did. Coach Rupp may or may not have had some other issues and going on there, but Coach Rupp never touched a woman. Joby Hall never touched a woman. So Chris Beard to Kentucky just wouldn't make sense in that sense because of all the stuff going on. I'm not saying that Keith Carter's a bad guy, but the standards at Ole Miss are a little bit different than they are at Kentucky. Right? They just are.
Well,
I mean, at Ole Miss, you're expected to come in there just to win, just to get to the NCAA tournament. If you got some off the court issues, I mean, Lane Kiffin's got his. If you've got those off the court, off the field issues, nobody really cares. But at Kentucky, that stuff is magnified because you're on the spotlight everywhere. And, Coach Cal says the best, we can't hide you at Kentucky. Chris Beard could not be hidden at Kentucky.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some stuff from one of our more erudite, intelligent viewers, Dr. David Arnoff down in the Panhandle. He's very smart and he's very perceptive. I like Chris Beard, I really do, and I'm not even going to get into. We all know one party can accuse someone of something, and it's Katie bar the door. Okay, words are like bullets; you can't take them back. And they had, but Chris Beard, I got a lot of respect for Keith Carter, the AD at Ole Miss, and you've been, and Gordon knows him. And look, I'm Mitch. You're making so much sense, folks. Follow him, the MitchDavisShow.com. This is a guy. What, 27 you are now, Mitch? And
just about 28.
You got a pair. You're not afraid to swing for the fence, and I respect that because you look at Brendan's dad, Buddy Martin, when he comes on this show. That's like me looking at a mentor or a coach or a teacher that I had. I love that guy, and I'm loving what you're saying and what you're doing, and you'll back it up. I know you will, and you're not afraid to say what you're saying. You look on a lot of the major networks and all; they're not going to touch this stuff. They're afraid to, and I appreciate that. All right, let's switch gears. Talking about, we're covering all the SEC. Eric Musselman at Arkansas. You look at Kentucky is up here by itself. Florida, back-to-back national championships, 06, 07. And then Arkansas's got one, played for another one, been to several Final Fours. Question for you. The mess, whatever it is at Arkansas. We have Dudley Dawson, hogville.net here on Wednesdays with us. One of the best writers around. Also, Wes Moore in Little Rock covers the Hogs. As Dudley said, I don't traffic in rumors, but it's a mess, whatever it is. That was a team that a lot of people picked high. Where did they miss the turn, or did Siri just give them some bad directions? Because this season, they won Saturday, but it's been a disaster by Hog standards.
Yeah, Rob, what's interesting about this is when there's a lot of smoke, which there seems to be a fire somewhere. I'm not saying everything is true. I'm not going to, go down that road of accusing people and what I've heard and that. But when there's a lot of smoke and the product on the court says that there is issues in the locker room, I mean, we saw it with my Memphis Tigers. I mean, look what Memphis is going through with on the court issues and, losing 4 straight now in the bubble after being projected to be a top 3, top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. It happened. With Arkansas, there's enough smoke to think that there is a fire there. I don't necessarily know where exactly it went wrong. I don't know if you can blame Eric Musselman, if you can blame guys that are being selfish. If I don't know where Arkansas went wrong, but I know that Arkansas fans, and the ones that I've talked to, and the people that I know at Arkansas, have said the same thing, where they would be surprised if Eric Musselman returns as head coach next season. Just because of all the stuff that is going on the court, Eric Musselman's like, man, I just want to play basketball. That's all I care about is playing basketball. And also, Arkansas, and I've mentioned this before, they're behind on NIL stuff. I don't know if they have the collective. If they have a collective, it's not as much as other.
It's called the
SEC.
Razor's Edge.
Okay, so they have a collective, but it doesn't have as much. It doesn't have as much funding as, let's say, Ole Miss or Alabama or Auburn or Kentucky or A&M or any of those. And it's not because the state doesn't have money. Because you've got Walmart sitting there, and you've got other corporations there on the Walmart or they're in Arkansas that can kind of give towards the NIL fund. It's just because they don't have the athletic department. We see it with football. They don't have the athletic department that can handle that just yet. They're kind of behind the eight ball a little bit. Arkansas, we see it in football. Baseball has underperformed. No matter what you want to say about Arkansas baseball, they have underperformed. They have not won a national championship all these years with all the great success they have. Beautiful stadium out there, Bond Stadium. Great fan support. When I go out to Omaha, it is all Arkansas fans. It's combined with Mississippi State and Ole Miss and LSU. They have the fan support, but they just don't have the NIL backing that they need to get to that next level. And Rob, we can sit here and talk about NIL and all this going on, but the fact is, either you adapt or die. And we're seeing coaches retire. Saban retired because he just got tired of adapting to this new brand of college football, and it is what it is. And that's kind of where Arkansas is right now.
Yeah, and Mitch, you're making a great series, so many good points. And I'm going to throw in that we were in Charlotte over the weekend at my son Wilson's, and had a band party at his house Saturday. And, we're talking to kids from, Virginia, NC State, UNC, Georgia, South Carolina, Auburn. And one of the guys Wilson has worked with was a Villanova guy. And we got to talking about Jay Wright. That was the guy. I mean, that was Marcus Welby. That was, Father Knows Best. The great image, just a rock star coach. Walked away from it. It was all about NIL. And you talk about Arkansas. I don't think people realize the largest off Wall Street investment bank in America is where? Little
Arkansas.
Rock. Stevens, okay? Warren Stevens probably worth over $7 billion. Okay.
They've also got Simmons Bank. Simmons Bank is headquartered.
Yeah, which is a $25 to $30 billion bank. From Pine Bluff, I might add. No, but there's a ton of money. But I'm going to tell you something. I've learned this from talking to major donors at different schools, and I think Brendan would agree. They get tired of being told you've got to fund all this crap. Okay, they're looking at the ROI, return on investment, and for every wealthy donor or prospect that you have, Mitch, they all have the same radio station on speed dial, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Okay, Arkansas, that collective. They've got to see a reason, okay? Why am I investing? You sell me $1 million block of bonds paying 5% interest, federal and state tax-free. I know I'm getting $50,000 a year, 2 checks of $25,000. If I'm giving, Frank Duffy gave an example. Brendan, I've talked about this with you, and I know you know it, Mitch. He had 3 friends 3 years ago that gave serious money to 3 LSU football players for NIL. By the time they got to the bowl game, none of those guys were even on the team anymore. They were done at that point with NIL. Now, I know some people at NIL collectives at different schools. I mean, I'm being completely transparent. I hate it for what it is, just giving money to people that haven't earned it. You can't do that. Ask anyone that's a doctor. I mean, most of them are 32, 34, 35 years old when they start making more than 45 or 50,000 a year. Then you've got student loans you got to pay back. It ain't cheap. Mitch, answer this question here. You say Arkansas hadn't got it together. What about Mississippi State? What about LSU? How much is enough for NIL?
Yeah, and you mentioned LSU and Mississippi State. Those two athletic departments are in polar opposite spectrums right now. I mean, LSU's got a football national championship in the last 5 years in 2019. They've got a baseball national championship last year. Women's basketball has a national championship and possibly going to be the perennial power, other than South Carolina, to win another national championship this year. They've got that return investment on their returns. Mississippi State, man, they are so far behind Ole Miss. Everybody compares Mississippi State and Ole Miss because they're in the same state.
Yeah.
They've got the same type of fans. It is what it is. I've had this conversation. I'm in the college baseball. I'm doing a lot of work for College Baseball Central this college baseball season.
Yeah.
I'm in a group chat with those guys, and they were asking me, Mitch, what about NIL in Mississippi? What about NIL? What is Mississippi State doing that Ole Miss is not? And it's the return on the investment. I mean, we mentioned Arkansas. I mean, what has Arkansas done in their athletic department of relevance in the last 10 years? A Liberty Bowl victory. I mean, they went far in the NCAA tournament last year, but again, when's the last time they won the SEC tournament? When's the last time they reached the Final Four? When's the last time that they had all these, great successes? They haven't. They come up short in Omaha. They haven't made the College World Series in softball yet. So there's a lot of not returning on investments at Mississippi State and Arkansas. And that's kind of where I kind of draw the line a little bit. I'm like, okay, these two teams, because Arkansas and Mississippi State are very similar fan bases, similar money coming in. They're just not having that return on investment. Mississippi State won one national championship in baseball for the first time in program history, a program that is considered a blue blood of the sport has only won one national championship. That's not a great return on investment. And Ole Miss people, what they're doing right now is saying, hey, we're going to go all in with football. We're going to go push all the chips forward in football, and this is what we're doing. After we'll see what happens. If something happens and they go, let's say they get to the college football playoff, maybe they get to the semifinal round or whatever, that'll be a nice return on investment for the Ole Miss faithful because they're not competing for Armed Forces Bowls like Mississippi State was a couple years ago. And, when you get to New Year's Six, I mean, I know for a fact that the Peach Bowl helps Ole Miss enrollment with these students wanting to come in and go to Ole Miss. They see the cool environments at Vaught Hemingway. They see the cool environments at Death Valley. But when you watch that Arkansas-Mississippi State football game this year, Rob, Brendan, what did y'all see? A 7-3 score, half-empty stadium. It was boring. I mean, it just was. And that's kind of where fans are right now. And everybody asked me the difference in Ole Miss.
I watched Arkansas beat Florida at home in the swamp and died.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Mitch, I know you've got to get going. We got about a minute left. You're making great points. Fans, this is why I'm saying NIL, we got to be very careful because fans are only going to give so much. I mean, you're only going to pay someone to do work for you for so long without a return on investment. And these student athletes right now, you better get it while you can because it's going to be markedly different very soon. The July 1st of 2021 is when it all started. It's going to change in a lot of ways. And it may just be a few schools, but people want to see that we're going to figure it out. The free market will. We don't want to have collusion. That's what we got to be careful of. Mitch, tell them how they can follow you on the Mitch Davis Show. And, man, we need more time with you. Love having you on here. We'll do it again later in the week or next week for sure.
Guys, thank you all so much for having me on. I look forward to coming back on. I'm having Coach Jay Johnson of the LSU Baseball Tigers on the podcast this afternoon on my lunch break. So looking forward to talking with him on the Hit It to Hoover podcast. Had Nick Mingione on Friday, talked Kentucky baseball with him. So find those at collegebaseballcentral.net. And all of my personal work, themitchdavisshow.com, and then my podcast at The Mitch Davis Show on SoundCloud, Apple, Spotify, everywhere else that you find your podcast. It is there, so check out The Mitch Davis Show. Rob, Brendan, I really appreciate y'all having me on. Hopefully I didn't upset too many snowflakes out there with some of my comments.
Hey, we're all about rattling people's cages, Mitch. I promise you that.
Hey, I wish y'all would have got me
no
going
one
about Taylor Swift. I'm a big fan of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and what it's doing for football, that would have really ruffled some feathers. So really disappointed, Rob. You didn't let me at least give a conservative man's perspective on how, I mean, really, truly, how much I like Taylor Swift's music. And my wife and I, she wants me to take her to the concert. I said, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's spend the money. So
I tell you what, she's just printing money. But if you ever wonder what an alpha male culture is, that's that Kansas City Chiefs locker room.
Amen.
There was when I had Kansas City, I took them to win. When Mahomes went out on the field, I said, there's no doubt in his mind at all. He's going to take his team down the field and they're going to score and they're going to win. It's not even up for debate because negative thoughts are not allowed in the minds of successful people ever. Mitch, awesome stuff. Thank you so much for taking time to share with us. True Grit Journalism, alive and well, folks. You're looking right at it. The MitchDavisShow.com. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one.
You bet. We're going to bring in Franz Beard right now, GatorbaitMedia.com. Let me say something about one of our sponsors, the Vitamin Shop, 5338 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Open Monday through Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays, 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. All the nutritional supplements that you need, you can get them there, but it's legitimate stuff. They have healthcare specialists, nutritionists that are there. I buy shot blocks. I buy goo for biking, running, swimming. You get what you need. You'll also get the probiotics, recovery supplements, but you'll get solid advice. These people are fantastic. Also opening up a second branch. Looks like today should be opening February 12th in Oxford, Mississippi. We're going to be down there March 2nd for a live remote, and they're going to try to get Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart out there. And man, I tell you what, that guy, I think he's almost 20. Looks like he's been at Ole Miss for a long time, but it's a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks. Check out all of our sponsors. You can find them on our website at sidelines.live. And friends, I saw a picture of you with Bruce Pearl. We're up in Charlotte. Man, what a city. My son Wilson lives up there. We got there Friday about 5 or 6 after going from Knoxville to Hickory. That, if you haven't done the drive, folks, from Knoxville, Tennessee to Hickory, North Carolina on I-40, holy shnikes. I've flown into Asheville. I've driven to Charlotte from Auburn and Atlanta. What a G-force trip. But Charlotte, the Queen City, man, that place it's a big city, and it's like we're in Atlanta right now. It's what Atlanta would be if they would have controlled the growth. But those are some serious basketball fans up there, friends. And we're at this party Saturday watching the Auburn game. And it was like a WWE SmackDown, guys banging people over the head with chairs. All right, fellas, calm down. We got to get out of here. But Florida, we talked about it earlier, been trending upward. And Todd Golden didn't just become a good coach overnight. He's been groomed for a long time. Kind of bring us up to speed on the Gators, and they're a top 5 team in the SEC. I think that's pretty obvious.
Well, that's what Bruce said after the game. He said this is easily a top 5 team in the SEC. I had a chance to spend some quality time with him after the game. I was talking with Patrick Young, who was one of the broadcasters. And Patrick, in case people don't know, his car flipped 11 times on ice up in South Dakota. And he is partially paralyzed now. He spends his life in a wheelchair or rehabbing. Wow. But Bruce saw him, and I was with Kenny Cross, who's a really good basketball writer. And Bruce came over and they delayed the Auburn bus leaving for the charter flight for about 10 or 15 minutes while they came over and talked with us. And one of the things he said right off the bat to me, he said, tell me who's a better point guard in this country, not just in the SEC, but in this country, than Zion Pullen, which is interesting because before the game, I got asked about 7 or 8 times, what's the difference today? I said, Auburn has no one who can handle Zion Pullen. Yeah. And for my money, he's the best point guard in the country. Bruce seems to think so too. And all you got to do is look. He's leading the SEC with 99 assists and only 24 turnovers. That's third in the nation in assist to turnover ratio. And he has not had a game in the SEC that he has scored hasn't reached double figures. He's averaged 18 points, 4.5 rebounds, 5 assists a game in SEC play. That's pretty darn good. And doesn't turn it over. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Goodness, I didn't realize I look at that skinny these days. The weight loss program must be working. give a cheer for the Slim Fast plan, folks. Anyway, I got to tell you, Florida has the guards, and this is one of the things that Bruce was talking about. He said they have the guards. He says when they let Pullen totally control things and get the ball to the other guys, he said Clayton is a tremendous scorer, and then you got Kugel, who can do things. Kugel can overpower any guard in the SECs. He's 6'6", he's 210, and I don't know that there's anybody in the SEC that elevates the way he does and with such power in his game. So when Florida's got that going, they're pretty darn good. Key is the Gators can't turn it over, and they have to have really good shot selection. When the shot selection's good, the Gators are really good. It's a very good basketball team in a league that I think right now is going to get 9 of the 14 teams in the SEC, in the NCAA tournament. The Big Ten, of course, with their 14 teams, they'll get 21 or 22 of them in the NCAA tournament. And this is going to be a year. It's hard. I know ACC people are about to go into apoplexy. But Rob, I can't see the ACC getting. They may get 4 in. I think 3 is pretty much what they're going to get. I think they're going to get Carolina, they're going to get Duke, and I think Clemson. And I think that is it from the ACC. Remember the days when it was the SEC that would only get 2 or 3 teams? We would hope for, okay, you get Florida and Kentucky, and you'd hope somebody else was good enough to get in. When Bruce was at Tennessee, you'd get Tennessee in. But that was always the thing is, okay, Billy Donovan will get in, and whoever's coaching Kentucky at the time will get in. Yeah. But who else is there? That's the ACC now, the SEC. And here's the thing, guys. The SEC has substantially upgraded the coaching every single place.
Correct.
You can't name me, even though Vanderbilt is 6-17 this year, and Missouri is 8-16. You can't tell me those are bad basketball coaches. Those are really good basketball coaches. It just so happens, though, they play in the toughest league now, other than the Big 12 in the entire country.
Yeah, well, Franz, I want to know, like, Rob, I think Rob's frozen up on us, and we'll see if his internet comes back. I know he's on. Oh, here he is. He's come back. Rob, you there?
Yeah.
All right, we got you back here, buddy. Go ahead.
Franz, I mean, you're right about the upgrade, and thank you, Mike Slav, for making that happen. What really happened with the SEC network, you better get basketball up, because we've got to put a good product out for what ESPN, SEC network is going to be investing in us. And we were in Charlotte, and that is a lot of, obviously, North Carolina, NC State, Duke. That's ACC country, but it's also the home of the SEC network. So there's a lot of SEC people up there. I was in a restaurant we ate called Providence Road Sundries in Myers Park. Very nice neighborhood there in Charlotte. I mean, kind of Mountain Brook, Belle Meade type. Very nice. And we were at lunch yesterday. Wilson and I and my wife Audrey. And you go in this bar, and it's all the SEC pennants in there, and then all the ACC, and then it's all these independent East Coast schools. The North Carolina people and the Duke people, they're carrying the ACC. The SEC, I mean, South Carolina picked 14th preseason. Lamont Paris is a damn good coach. Just looking at the standings, South Carolina and Alabama tied at 9-2. Auburn and Tennessee there at Auburn at 8-3, Tennessee at 7-3, Florida 6-4, Kentucky 6-4, A&M 6-4. Ole Miss has slipped down to 5-5. You're right. 8 or 9 teams from the SEC will go this year. So I watched Purdue, Indiana, some of that Saturday night. Did you see any of that on Fox? And they showed, by the way, Gene Keady still living, the greatest comb over of all time. He was at the game. And Purdue's big man is a 4th or 5th year player in college, Edey.
Zach Edey, yeah.
Yeah, not even getting a look.
7'4", 290 pounds.
Yeah, and look at his numbers. And they're saying the NBA, where's the NBA coming after this guy? What do they want? But Purdue every year ranked up there really high. But the Big Ten, Michigan State's won 15 this year. I think the SEC, Big 12, Big East, pick me a winner out of that crowd. Is UConn as good as they were last year or better?
Yeah. In fact, they're better than they were last year.
That's scary.
I know that's hard. Yeah. That's hard to say, but their guards have that year of experience to go with them.
Yep.
And the Klingon kid, I say he's a kid. He's 7'2", and he is an absolute moose in there. But he is the real deal, and he alters so many shots. And this is one of the things that we look at shot block totals sometimes, and we say, "Wow, these guys are blocking a lot of shots." Well, yeah, but sometimes it's how many shots you alter is more important. Because
I agree.
Look at the rebounding totals. You can, Ole Miss blocks a lot of shots, but they don't rebound well. Florida doesn't block nearly as many shots, but the Gators lead the nation in rebounding.
Yep.
You look at what happened Saturday. Micah Handlogton, now he had 4 blocked shots, but by my count, he had 9 that he altered as well. That's 13 shots that are bad because of that. And he didn't foul out. Florida took Johnny Broome. Is it Janai or Johnny?
Janai. JB.
Whatever.
Whatever.
JB, the big guy.
The big guy.
The big guy he only had 12 points.
Yeah.
He only had 12 points. Jalen Williams only had 6.
Yeah.
Wow. And then they bring in Dylan Cardwell, who is the creature from the Lost Lagoon. I mean, my gosh, that guy, his thighs are as big around as I am. Okay,
yeah.
And I weigh
6'11". Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's already graduated. He's already graduated from the Harvard College of Business Management at Auburn. And he's Rodney Garner's cousin, a defensive lineman from Auburn who's now on the staff at Tennessee. But he's you talk about a guy that just what a college athlete is about. Got his degree already, loves Auburn, has never transferred, could have gone to other schools. But I'm going to tell you what Florida did, and you're right about that. It's not so much how many shots you block, it's how many that you alter. It's like a great defensive back, a corner that can take away a whole side of the field. So it limits the options that the opposing team's offense has in a football game. And breaking down, looking around the SEC, Buzz Williams, and basketball, friends. Yeah. Tell me this. That guy, he's one of the last people in the world wearing a 3-piece suit. I love that guy. He is so passionate, and he just what he does off the court for other people. You could spend a day talking about that, but he's a hell of a basketball coach.
Yes,
and he gets so much out of his team. We're going to run through a bunch of schools. We got about 15 minutes left. But give me your Cliff Note version. Why is Texas A&M so competitive without superstars?
Because Buzz gets those kids to play with the same kind of energy and the same kind of passion that he has. Do you want to know why he wears the 3-piece suit? because the coach who gave him a chance wore a three-piece suit when he coached. And he wears that to honor the guy that gave him his break. Because he said, I'm 5'0" I had a vertical jump of about 1.5 inches. And this guy gave me my opportunity. And he honors that, and he honors the traditions there. He gets the kids to play as hard as he does. He's got a kid named Anderson Garcia, who is the most underrated guy in the entire SEC. He's leading the league in rebounding. 6'7", played at Hamilton Heights Christian School in Chattanooga. He's from the Dominican Republic. Played there with a Russian kid that Florida signed. And after 1 year, the Russian kid went to Russia because he got a lucrative contract to play pro there. But Anderson Garcia went to Mississippi State, and when they before they fired Ben Howland, he went over to A&M, and he plays with such intensity and such passion. And he reminds me, now I know somebody's going to say something, nobody's Dennis Rodman. He rebounds like Rodman does. And by that, I mean this. You always hear this, put a body on somebody and block out. Rodman never blocked anybody out. Rodman tracked the ball with his eyes. His feet went where his eyes were, and he got the basketball. That's what Anderson Garcia does. He doesn't block out anybody. He just follows the ball and goes and gets it. Yeah. And against Tennessee, 16 rebounds, 9 of them offensive rebounds. And you think about what that does. 9 second chances after you have missed a shot.
Yes.
That's 9 chances the other team doesn't get to score. The final score in that game was, I think, 21 points, something like that.
85-69, yeah. It makes a difference.
16 points, 16-point difference.
But it was a lot bigger lead at point in that game. You're right.
But see, that's what offensive rebounding does for you. It takes a scoring opportunity away from the other team. It gives your team a second chance and takes a scoring opportunity from the other team. And the other thing is this, you're playing defense now with your offense because you get a fresh 20 seconds on the clock. So think about this. Texas A&M got 2 minutes more with the basketball Saturday because of Anderson Garcia. That's pretty darn good, if you ask me.
Well, it's the equivalent in football, time of possession. And if you're able to dominate time of possession and keep the other team's defense on the field forever, and then you can throw some deep balls, you just break their back. They just, I agree with you. I look here at the coaching jobs. Chris Beard getting everything he can
out of Texas Beards.
Yeah, out of Ole Miss. But then look around this league. How can Missouri be so bad and Vanderbilt be so bad? Last year, didn't Missouri win a bunch of games? And this year, they won 25 last year, didn't they?
Well, they were really good last year, and then they lost everybody. But Dennis Gates has brought in what some people say is the number 3 recruiting class in the country. They got 5 top 100 guys coming in next year. They're going to be very, very good again. I like Jerry Stackhouse. Vanderbilt's biggest problem isn't Jerry Stackhouse, unlike what a lot of Vandy people think. Vandy's biggest problem is an administration that gives lip service to sports, but then really doesn't do anything about it.
Correct.
They've got the endowment money. They have all the doctors and lawyers, et cetera, like that with big bucks who can contribute money. And yet they have the athletic department is part of the physical education department.
Correct.
They have an athletic director whose idea is, okay, we'll have a tailgate. Who's bringing the grapes? Who's got the Chardonnay?
Yeah.
This is the South. We grill burgers. We drink beer,
Boiled peanuts, by the way.
Yeah. We sit there and tell dirty jokes before the ball game. We don't,
That's right.
We don't sit there and say, "Oh, did you check the stock market today?" No, I
Yeah.
didn't. Oh,
Well, I'm with you.
took a $17 billion hit. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to buy a new bicycle for my kid.
Well, you know what? When we talk with Chris Lee of the Southeastern 14 on this show, he also does Vandy Rivals. It is so frustrating because, you've got Candace Lee as athletic director. I mean, she doesn't. They don't care. He said they're more of an extension of what that university wants to be. And Tim Corbin is the only one with any sense who got out of the athletic complex and moved the baseball program to another building. And look at the success he's had in the last 10 years. They've played in 4 or 5 national championships. They've won a couple. You've got to do that. To me, when you hear terms like Vanderbilt uses, they're not really serious, and they should be. They've got the money to do it. But just because a school has money doesn't mean they're going to win. Look at Texas. Look at Texas A&M, what they spend on football, and then the return on investment, or the lack of a return on investment.
Yeah, but you can say that. But here's the one thing you look at with Texas. Look at how it translates into national championships in other sports.
Now, I was going to say the
Because
other
they have
sports,
that
they
money.
are. I get that. No,
They
totally agree
they,
with you.
They do. And football has won a national championship in this century. Texas A&M hasn't won one since I think the last time they
1939.
won one was when Carthage was being stormed,
Yeah.
way back when, Uh,
Yeah. It was
I am
1939.
what's that? Was it 1930?
1939.
I
Yeah.
thought it was BC 1839, but that's okay. Texas A&M, the only people who have more money than the Aggies are God and the Longhorns. The Longhorns, they made the playoff this year. They won a national championship, and I would dare say they're going to enter 2024 as the favorite to win a national championship in football. It's going to be Texas or Georgia, one of the two with the best team, no question about it. It's all relevant, it's all relative, not relevant, relative. What kind of investment are you getting? People gripe about Florida here, and they say, "Well, we're not doing this, this, or this." Yes, but look at this. The rankings are going to come out. Florida's women's track team is going to be number 2 in the country. Their men's track team number 3. Lacrosse team top ranked, one of the top 10. Baseballs will start the season this week, number 2. Softball played 5 games this weekend, 0.21 ERA for 3 freshman pitchers. Swimming has a chance to win the national championship this year on the men's side. The women's side will finish top 3. And on and on and on. Now, football is getting better at Florida under Billy Napier. Still not there. And people want football to be great. But it's kind of like Mary Wise once told me. And Mary Wise has won like 19 or 20 SEC championships as the volleyball coach at Florida. And one of her comments is this. She said, "Take it from anywhere else, but don't you dare touch football, because football is what pays the freight for everything else."
Yeah.
Florida has 3 airplanes. Did you know that? 3 jets that they use. Florida has its own Air Force, for example. Yeah. And if we were on a river, we'd have a yacht too, but we don't. Kind of hard to put one on Lake Alice. Besides that, the alligators would eat the hull. But you've got to invest in your program and go first class.
You do.
Florida, I looked at Mississippi State came here for basketball. Did you know they bust here all the way from Stark Vegas to Gainesville, and got to understand something about Starkville, Mississippi. It is not the end of the world, but there are signs that will get you there to the end of the world in 15 minutes if you just follow the signs there in downtown Starkville. Take a left turn here, take a right turn at Billy Bob's gas station, and you're not far away.
Is that men's or women's basketball that they bust to Gainesville?
Men's basketball
this year.
Bust here, yes.
Well, was that because they had a flight problem? I mean, I don't know, but I do know this. Exorbitant amounts of money are being spent by a lot of schools on athletics. But you're right. Football and the athletic program is your front porch to your university, to the rest of the world. And that's the way it is. And I'm looking around in the SEC. The patients are going to be tested. We're bringing in Texas and Oklahoma. Dave Cody, my good friend, who was sports anchor in Austin for Channel 7 for like 35 years, watches this show every day. And he talks about all these other sports winning championships at Texas. He said, but at the end of the day, what gets the Texas Longhorn fan to, take out a loan to buy season tickets or scholarship seating is football. You got to have football. And it is, to me, where we're going. We're going to have private equity, venture capital, start getting its feet wet in college athletics. You're going to see this. I mean, Auburn and Alabama take no money from the state of Alabama. They're privately funded. And by doing that, you decide who your coaches are going to be. You make sense. I like you, Kerry. O'Connell Center in Gainesville continues to be a house of horrors for Auburn, such as life on the road, A&M stomping Tennessee, and Aggie Land. Boots Radford, one of the top guards in the SEC. There's nowhere, friends, to hide in the SEC. There's nowhere. And you're right. You can't say it enough, but you to win the SEC championship, you got to win 5 or 6 road games, and that's very difficult to do.
Now, Auburn's season is going to be defined this week. You've got South Carolina coming in Wednesday, and that's a must-win. And then you got Kentucky coming in, and Kentucky's got Final Four talent. Now the question is, when is the Final Four talent going to start playing like a Final Four team? Kentucky's got one guy that plays like he's a teammate, and that's Reed Sheppard. Reed Sheppard is the best freshman in the SEC, bar none. Yeah. And he's played himself into probably being a top 15 pick in the NBA draft, which is amazing considering, he started the season. He took a back seat to DJ Wagner, but he gets those guys the ball. Now it's up to them to do stuff with it. But Kentucky's got Final Four talent. Auburn's got to be 10-3 at the end of this week. Yeah, I'm convinced that 13-5, 14-4, 13-5 will win the SEC. Too. Yeah. If you go 9-9 in the SEC, you're going to get into the NCAA tournament.
I agree with that. I agree.
This is why it's so critical right now. Florida's at 6 wins. Texas A&M is at 6 wins. They've got to get 3. Yeah, they do. Franz, we got about a minute left. I mean, great. You're making so many salient points. I mean, knocking it out of the park. Folks, read Franz Beard, GatorBaitMedia.com. Be a subscriber. Not just Gators, but SEC in the big picture of national college athletics. But, hey, we'll be back on in the morning. Got another great show lined up. Thanks to all of our sponsors, viewers, everybody. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Don't ever doubt we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. We got the best people like Brendan, like Franz, like Mitch, and all of you watching and listening. Tell your friends we're out of here. We will see you tomorrow.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, The real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none